The way that the legacy media interprets things like clavicular and looksmaxxing is to say, oh my God, like all young men are now smashing like their face with hammers to look hot.
Doing meth.
Yeah, and doing meth, which is something Clavicular has done.
So I do meth to, basically suppress my appetite and try to get leaner.
That's obviously bullshit, right? Like the reason people are sharing clips of Clavicular isn't because they're like, oh, like let me take notes on how to Looksmaxx. It's because it's a bit of a freak show. They find him funny and ridiculous, right? 100%. So this is the gulf of understanding between the generation that consumes legacy media and our generation. They look at Looksmaxxing, it becomes a moral panic, right? They're like, oh my God, like, is my son gonna like inject meth in his dick? No, right? Like,
Does that work? Does it work?
Well, Clavicular injected peptides in
and did it work?
I haven't seen Clavicular's dick.
Disappointing.
So
you need to be like, you call yourself an investigative journalist, bro. I'm just saying.
We can do a lot more fun things I'm allowed on the BBC.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, bro. Get loose.
So like, Clavicular's dick aside.
What's left back again in the stew? There's a whole preamble on Substack. If you want to become a paying subscriber, please. We actually need the money. But we're here today with Mr. Matt Shea for the DNG podcast, bro. Dork, nerd, geek. This is the DNG mafia. Matt, can you explain a little bit what DNG means?
So the DNG is the term that Andrew Tate and all of his supporters call me because I investigated him for human trafficking.
Because you're a dork.
Yeah, dork stands for dork, nerd, geek. It's really stuck. I mean, the first documentary I did about Tate came out years ago, and even today, someone on Instagram called me the DNG. Andrew Tate's lawyer, I believe, recently called me the DNG on Twitter. So
Mr. McBride.
It has stuck.
It's a funny one because in person, I don't get any of DNG vibes.
I'm more like a jock.
Yeah. You're a Chad. You're a Chad. You're a Chad Chud geezer. You're a CCG, bro. Chad geezer. You know what? The first time, because you've been on the podcast before, you came on with James Bloodworth, episode 5 for What's Left Heads, you'll know. And I remember thinking like, I couldn't tell watching the documentary how big you were. And I kind of thought, I was like, am I going to mug him? I was wondering where I was going to mug you before you came on. And then I kind of got out. As soon as I saw you, I was like, oh, right, he's been hitting Jim now. The DNG allegations have stuck and now he's been hitting Jim. And he's here to mug me.
Well, you would have seen me in the film like next to Andrew and Tristan Tate, and they actually are massive. So that would have made me look small by comparison.
Yeah. I mean, so you're one of the few journalists who have actually met the Tate brothers and spent a significant amount of time with them. I mean, actually, you probably spent the most time with the Tates out of anyone in the journalistic world.
I would say, yeah, I think I've spent more time with the Tates than anyone who isn't like a sycophantic fan of them. Yeah,
or paying them for the privilege,
exactly.
Right? So, for some listeners might know that I did some documentaries back in the day for a company called The News Movement about Andrew Tate. We never got the privilege of interviewing him personally, though he did say for a certain amount of money he would do it because he was, I think, cash strapped at the time. So, for me, I was watching these documentaries that you were doing, being like very inspired, and so it's obviously a lovely full circle moment to like have built a relationship with you and for you to be a returning guest on the podcast, bro, because as we all might be aware, there have been some updates into the Andrew Tate case. But before we get onto that, I thought it'd be good to start with a bit of like home territory for listeners and viewers, maybe who are less familiar with the ins and outs. Jovan's going to be very helpful today as the kind of context king for when we start jumping off the deep end. Please just tell us like, what the fuck are you talking about? And we can provide context. And we've got Ellen, our fact checker, in the back as well. Big ups, Ellen. So look, the Louis Theroux documentary on the Manosphere. I texted you about it straight afterwards because I was curious about what your thoughts were. But what was your like takeaway from it all?
I liked it. I thought it was really good. I think what Louis Theroux does, which is maybe different from what I do, even saying that feels like presumptuous to put myself in the same like ballpark as the man as the Don.
CCG, bro. Put yourself in the same ballpark.
But what he's so brilliant at, and what I try and emulate as much as possible, is drawing people out and letting them hang themselves with their own rope and holding a mirror up to them and asking exactly the right question where maybe that person doesn't realize how that question is revealing something about their inner psyche. And by the end of the film, if you watch that as a sane person, you're looking at it and realizing these guys, these Manosphere guys are ridiculous. They're laughable and they're cruel, and they've shown us what they are, right? And he's done that. He's drawn that out of them. I'm not Louis Theroux. I do try and do a bit of Louis Theroux when, for example, with Andrew Tate, like ask him questions where, I'm doing a bit of the Theroux thing. But then at the end, ultimately I'm an investigative journalist and I go in for the kill and I say, this is the evidence against you and what's your response, So it's a different kind of film.
I felt like the Louis Theroux doc was like a few years late. I think that's kind of a fair critique, because maybe this is just because I've been so invested in this story for a long time, but I asked a lot of my friends as well, and they were like, there was no new information that they felt that they were watching. And I wonder whether the target audience with this was not, our generation of people who've grown up with this content, who've been invested in the story, but really maybe the generation above parents and people who recognize Louis Theroux's name, for instance, and recognize this issue of the manosphere. Yeah,
well, our kind of social group, we tend to forget, is a bit of a bubble. We are, well, first of all, generationally, the fact that we're digital natives, we know all this stuff, but I don't think the majority of American adults above the age of 40 are that au fait with the manosphere. So when they saw this documentary on Netflix, it blew their minds.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what did you think about it?
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, why?
You were shocked.
Well, yeah. I was one of those.
My elder baby boomer was shocked.
Well, yeah, because I mean, I'm not a digital native in the same sense as maybe others are. And
digital alien.
Very much a digital alien.
Digital alien.
And I mean, I obviously was shocked, in part because I'm aware of obviously the connotations and this man and all the kind of horrifying associations to him, but just how sophisticated his reasoning for what he's trying to do was. But as you say, you hold the mirror up to his face and it all kind of melts away and he's exposed. For, dare I say, people like myself and possibly of an elder generation, the way in which this misogyny manifests is so far removed from, I think, what historically and culturally we've been acquainted with up until this point. It is shocking, but part of the horror is that we also don't know that it's happening right in front of us.
Are we talking about Tate now?
Yeah, I suppose Tate, but also this kind of manospheric
Myron
culture.
Gaines and fucking Justin Waller.
I mean, yes, so it would be a mistake, I think, to see the misogyny and the anti-feminism of the Manosphere and Tate and people like Myron Gaines as a kind of political movement. It does have political elements. It's based around a political grievance that they advertise young men are now facing, but it's more of a psychological thing. It's a sense in which men's worth is defined by their sexual prowess, their ability to fight, the money that they have, something that's existed all the time, but that it's really hammering that insecurity home and making men think that their value is is tied up with this kind of sexual marketplace, this myth of the sexual marketplace, that they're the alphas and everyone else is a beta, and the alphas have all the sex, all the women, all the money, and everyone else is a beta. That incredibly damaging psychological notion is what drives men to the insecurity that then drives them to seek out the kind of courses like Andrew Tate's Real World, where you pay whatever is $30, $40 a month to learn how to be an alpha male. It's what drives them to try and sleep with as many women as possible, what drives them to misogyny, what drives them to Looksmaxx, what drives them to rate themselves against other men, to count, the number of women they've had sex with and rate that against other men, to count the number of men the women they've had sex with and count that against other men. It's all this kind of
it's a competition.
A
zero-sum competition as well, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're not sleeping with them, someone else is eating your food, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, the Looksmaxxing stuff, we haven't done. I really wanted to get a Looksmaxxer on the podcast, but there's actually. They're all in Australia. There's no, do you know what I mean? There's some weird sort of social contagion that happened where Clavicular influenced one guy in Australia, and then he managed to find two other autistic guys as well to become Looksmaxxers. And they've all just kind of cohered together as a unit.
I
You know
mean,
what I'm
we
talking
all
about?
look. Yeah, I do. Yeah,
Yeah, androgenic and Clark.
Yeah.
Clark Kent, Nocturnal Kent.
Yes, and Androgenic's his toupee was taken off by a fan on live stream.
Yeah.
And then like everyone was like, "Oh my god, you got exposed," and he was like, "I never said that hair was real." And like, also, dude, the Looksmaxxers are like the funniest thing to happen to the
So
internet.
I'm going to out myself as the context king.
Context,
please.
Sure. Matt, you give context here, bro.
Okay, so.
And you've clearly been Looksmaxxing the last few years as well. So
We all Looksmax.
We all Looksmax.
What is Looksmaxing? Just like putting on nice clothes.
Yeah.
What is Looksmaxing? We should say.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so Looksmaxing is it sort of comes a little bit out of the same part of the internet that the incel, involuntary celibate movement comes from. The notion that like you as a man are celibate against your will. But the Looksmaxing is like that. It's a movement that claims to help men ascend out of inceldom and become the best looking version of themselves. And it believes in an almost eugenic style version of male aesthetics, where like the distance between your clavicles, the distance between your eyes, the size of your shoulders, etc., is all something that women look at. Like women are basically like animals who calculate who they're going to mate with, and they look at that and then they decide. That's what Looksmaxxers say. And so they do things, and they teach other men how to do things to increase their looks,
Their frame.
so they can compete in the sexual marketplace as they see it. And that includes things, the more ridiculous things are like bone smashing. So smashing your face to like increase your bone with a hammer to increase your bone structure.
it's not really. They're not really doing that though.
No one's really doing that.
Yeah.
Although Clavicular does do that. Clavicular being the most famous Looksmaxxer.
Subhematomal. What's they called?
But things they are doing is injecting peptides, which are these like dodgy substances you can get from China into their bodies. Steroids. Penile enhancement surgery is hugely on the rise. All sorts of plastic surgery is hugely on the rise for men. And they are all doing this because they're obsessed with their looks and Looksmaxxing. And Clavicular is the most famous Looksmaxxer.
You know Clavicular. You've seen him. So Clavicular's a riff on the clavicle.
His clavicles are supposedly the ideal distance apart, so he calls himself Clavicular.
That
is just insane to me.
Yeah. It's all
But it's definitely not normal. But like, I think so. I've got a lot to say about this topic that I haven't. I wanted to do like a video essay on it. Maybe I will after this. But I think what's going on here is very neurodivergent young men, right? Like, all the obsession with like the scientific language and like all the like, to me that's like classic, high level tism, just like locked in on a specific topic, wanting to be an expert in it. There's like this kind of competing language game as well, but like you get status by knowing more words and like being able to determine the language in a new way as well.
I mean, actually that theory that like a lot of the crazy things we hear about on the internet, a lot of the stories that consume us are down to like the new prominence that neurodivergent people have is interesting, right? I mean, if you look at all of the main players in any given story, whether that's Elon Musk, Curtis Yarvin, Clavicular, or even, look at the Jason Arde story, both Arde and his chief, his critic, the kind of the race scientist guy, are both, I believe autistic. So like a lot of this is like things playing out in public, by like characters that are neurodivergent, and we then as a media or social media, we look at it and we look at them through the lens of non-neurodivergence. We say we expect people to act normally, but they aren't. Yeah. But that's a really tangential point.
I guess all of this stuff is rooted in an insecurity, but it obviously goes far beyond that when you're modifying yourself in a particular way. Trying to have a consolidation of information, is it also to weaponize it and use it as a way of exerting your authority over? Because that's what it is to me. It's not just, I don't know, so I must know. It's, I must know so I can exert this onto somebody else.
So I can beat other people.
Yeah.
Definitely. And the key thing about, the key difference between what's now happening to men, especially men our age, especially men your age. I believe you're both younger than me.
I'm 26.
Soon to be 30.
Okay.
Washed up food, bro. How old are you again?
I'm actually 34.
Jesus.
I'm a boomer, basically. Yeah, why am I on this?
Never catch me at 34, bro. I'm gone by then, bro.
You can like be in the 27 club, right? Are you 27?
I'm 26.
You're 26. Okay, great. Yeah.
I'm a youth.
This is what people were worried about with women in the early 2000s and the 90s, that like magazines and then social media was giving them eating disorders, et cetera. And it's all true. And there was a shitload of money to be made off of that, right? Marketing towards women to make them feel shit about their bodies. That is now happening to men too.
Hundreds.
And like,
bigorexia.
But here's the difference, is that this is now, it's not just buy this cosmetic product to make yourself look nicer. It's attached with a grievance. The grievance is either, not only do women not find you attractive unless you buy this product or this course or whatever, but you deserve to have sex with those women and it's been denied to you by feminism. And like, you need to go out and take it. Or the grievance is that there is this sexual marketplace and there are the alphas and you're not one of them. And to compete with the alphas, you got to do that. And that's based in myths like the 90-10 myth, for example, the idea that, which is based on a misunderstanding of the data from dating apps, that like 10% of men have access to like all of the sex in women, which is not true, right? So all of those myths, they create this kind of male grievance industry, which is worth billions of dollars.
Can you explain a bit more about why the 90-10 myth isn't true? Because I know that there'll be some listeners who go, well, if he is like the hottest guy ever, he can have sex with 90% of the women.
I mean, like the myth is that the top 10% of males have access to all of the women, basically. That's based on a misinterpretation of the data on Tinder specifically, which is an app which is almost like entirely men using it, right?
Yeah,
Tinder's basically all. So
it's impossible. It's actually impossible to have sex off Tinder.
I mean, I wouldn't know.
No, but I've been told by many people. I wouldn't know for many years, but I've been told. / I had anecdotally 5 years ago.
but like, it's like, do women want to have sex with hot men? Yeah, of course. Like if that's not up for debate.
Not DNGs though, CCGs.
Exactly. No, but it like, I would say DNGs too. Like, I think that the idea that there's like a specific type of alpha male that women are attracted to is not the case. Like, I think that
many women find Andrew Tate very, very, very repulsive.
There you go. Yeah. In fact,
most women I know personally.
Yeah. Like, do you think the guys doing push-ups outside Andrew Tate's like jail cell in Miami are getting loads of views attention?
We need to watch that clip. I'm going to pull that up later though. But Ellen, can you find the clip of Clavicular meeting the original founder of Looksmaxxing?
Well, the thing that Clavicular just did that he went viral for was he on live stream jumped, like, to impress some girls, he jumped and touched the ceiling in the nightclub to show like how, and then the girls were like, when they weren't impressed, he then like angrily explained to them like why they should be impressed. It's like, no, I showed you my vertical jump. It's like a statistic that, like, you know, NFL players use, and like it's irrefutable evidence that I'm more attractive than like like it's not.
But you know, all the club footage of Clavicular is like is hysterical because he doesn't know how to dance.
He doesn't know how to dance, but also like, no one above jumping to touch the ceiling to impress girls isn't something you do like above the age of 8.
That's right. True. But it is attractive though.
Yeah, it's fucking
hot. I got bricked up watching him touch that ceiling, bro.
Have you ever escort maxed?
I haven't, no.
So wait, are you like a cell?
Yeah.
You're virgin?
Yeah, true virgin, man.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Looksmaxx founder, have you not? So like they went on stream together, and Clavicular's also done streams with like his top fan. Have you seen that? And he is addicted to Pepsi.
I have seen that.
You want to start Looksmaxxing? Okay. Well, I would say that the best place to start would be with some sort of dental work, right? You've got a little, I can't really see from this far away, but you know, if you want to show me a little bit closer, we're either looking at some sort of dental gap between your front teeth or a missing tooth. So you're going to have to tell me which it is.
This world is full of bizarre, like eccentric, I think highly likely, highly neurodivergent people as well. Judging on it based on appearances, I can't be absolutely certain in that. But what I think is happening here is there's a creation of a world in which if you lean into it, you can find a tribe. And there are certain young men who, for whatever reason, in their actual lives are highly isolated. But in this world of Looksmaxx or whatever, can have status and have a community.
And I guess I'm curious because this kind of thing is not within my like friendship circle or people that I know. I mean, to put a number or figure on it is quite ridiculous, but like, how many people do you think are out there that
are getting influenced by this?
Exactly.
Well, that's a really good point. So I think the way that the legacy media interprets things like Clavicular and Looksmaxxing is to say, oh my God, like all young men are now smashing like their face with hammers to look hot.
Doing meth.
Yeah, and doing meth, which is something Clavicular has done to make his bones more apparent in his face. Wow. That's obviously bullshit, right? Like the reason people are sharing clips of Clavicular isn't because they're like, oh, like let me take notes on how to Looksmaxx. It's because it's a bit of a freak show. They find him funny and ridiculous, right?
100%.
So this is the gulf of understanding between the generation that consumes legacy media and our generation. In that they look at Looksmaxxing and it becomes a moral panic, right? They're like, oh my God, like, is my son gonna like inject meth in his dick? No, right? Like,
Does it work?
Well, Clavicular injected peptides in his dick.
And did it work?
I haven't seen Clavicular's dick.
Disappointing.
So
you need to be like, you call yourself an investigative journalist, bro. I'm just saying.
We can do a lot more fun things I'm allowed on the BBC.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, bro. Get loose. I mean, it's the annoying thing that you come here at 10 a.m. I thought we could have some beers and just like
so like Clavicular's dick aside, the idea that like the moral panic around Looksmaxxing is a joke to anyone our age because we know our mates aren't like smashing their face with hammers. However, that like freak show that we're seeing online, and social media is often a freak show, right? It's people like Clavicular or Andrew Tate or whatever. It is the tip of an iceberg, and that the iceberg underneath is what's now increasingly being called the male grievance industry. And so it is true that not everyone's doing stupid stuff like Clavicular, but millions more men are feeling insecure about their bodies, how they look than there were before. And they are doing things like buying steroids, going to the gym more, buying courses on how to make themselves better, on how to get women, how to get laid. Plastic surgery for men is on the rise. So this is a huge trend. Yeah. It's just that like we're seeing the craziest freak show element of it online.
Yeah, I think the digital circus is a good way of trying to understand like what things like pop up new in the zeitgeist, right?
Yeah.
Like the reason why Clavicular is at the top of everyone's feeds is because it is absurd. Like it's fundamentally absurd. And he knows that, right? So like when like attention is created by shock and awe, and he does both by doing insane things. And that's why the bone smashing stuff is like it's actually a very smart and intelligent tactic to create attention because no one's really doing it. And it's kind of a nudge, wink, wink inside joke to the group being like, look at it. They think we're fucking nuts, but they actually have no idea what we're actually like. Yes. And if you go into the Looksmaxx group chats, like on the forums, you'll get these like 14-year-old kids being like, basically like, am I cooked? And it's like a photo of a kid with like ridden with acne. And they'll be like rope, which basically means like kill yourself. Right. And then they'll be like, well, you're not actually going to kill yourself though, because you've come on here to look for help. So there's this weird like joshing in the groups between themselves, basically being like, who's actually going to kill themselves with this? Because we're all so fucking miserable. And yet at the same time, they're getting some level of like collective support, mental health support at the same time. It's completely perverse, right? I'm not saying this is like this functional and works. Yeah. But at the same time, you can see that there is a logic to what they're saying, which is that like, if you're here, you don't want this to be your reality.
Wow.
There's a corrupt logic that tells young men that their value is the same as their standing in what they call the sexual marketplace. And that's the term, SMV, sexual marketplace value. Clavicular is trying to demonstrate his SMV, right? That's what he's doing. So that is obviously a very unhealthy message to tell young men. Like, imagine if like there were women saying like, your entire worth is defined by how like many men are attracted to you, right? It's like the opposite of the truth. But the online freak show thing, right? Like to an extent, this is something that we've become used to now in the sense that like, Trump's good at it. Like it's not just Clavicular saying I smashed my face with a hammer. It's also,
Quiet Piggy.
It's also like Richard Tice saying like just enjoy the hot weather, right? It's like clearly intended to get a reaction because it's very shareable, right? It's shock jock stuff. But what I think that the thing that no one's really talking about as much yet is how easily manipulated these social media algorithms are by a small group of people. And what we're seeing now is clippers really define the internet. And so I believe that a lot of these characters like Clavicular are essentially taking over the internet because of clippers. Now, I'll explain what clippers are in a second, but what a lot of people don't realize is that Clavicular is mainly a streamer on the platform Kick. Kick is a streaming platform that is owned by a crypto gambling company. It pays Clavicular and other controversial streamers a ton of money per month. And it also pays millions to clippers, who are people who clip the live stream and they post it to social media, and the clippers get paid per 1,000 views of each clip. So Kick has financially incentivized these clippers to pick the most extreme, intense, crazy shit and put it on social media. That's where we're all seeing people like Clavicular. And it has worked, right? And what it is it's a marketing campaign for a crypto gambling company. For Stake, the crypto gambling company that owns Kick. A lot of this internet freak show is being driven by a crypto gambling company that is financially incentivizing the internet to share the craziest stuff they can. And that then creates a reverse feedback loop where people do the craziest thing they can possible because that's how they get attention. That's why you get people like Vitaly, one of those popular streamers. Yeah. He's a pedophile hunter.
Used to be a prankster.
He like...
the incentives got more extreme, more extreme, and then also scandal after scandal after scandal. So you could only be the most raw person out there. Yeah.
And this is
Sam Pepper as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. And this is what I want to make the point about social media that I find so interesting is it's really easy for a small number of people with some money to manipulate the entire algorithm and change our world. Yeah. And you could even look at things like the Ceuta crisis. Wow, smart minds. The Ceuta crisis, right?
I love you, man.
The Ceuta crisis was caused by a relatively small number of accounts, which appear to be connected to human traffickers, posting this content that made it seem like it was easy to get to Ceuta and that you would get there and you would instantly be allowed into Spain.
So for Ceuta, just for context, is this tiny island between Morocco and Spain where they had 80,000 people just show up and 100 people died?
Yeah, 100 people died in one short space of time trying to get into Europe. Why did this sudden surge of migrants, of tens of thousands of migrants trying to get into Europe all at the same time? Lots of different theories. Turns out it's because a small number of accounts presented an illusion of Ceuta being accessible for migrants. A lot of them appear to be connected to human traffickers. It led to 100 people dying. Now, if something like that happened in the UK, we would be demanding the social media companies be held accountable for that, right? Like, it's so easy to manipulate. This is how Andrew Tate became famous. He had a tiny group of clever young marketing people who clipped him and posted those clips constantly and financially incentivized other people to clip those things. Like it's super easy to do. Yeah. That's why
multi-level marketing. State actors. So I just want to drill into this because I think it's so fascinating, right? Because plausibly, right, if you were a malign interest that was against Europe and wanted to foment issues and problems within Europe, it would make sense for you to put some bot accounts behind what's happening in Ceuta, and we don't know the way the funnel was working, right? Is it the case that there were some smart human traffickers who were like, we're gonna run this campaign and we're gonna get paid out of it, or is it the case that a state actor's gone to these people and said, you should do this, and we'll give you some money to do this and support you in doing it?
Yeah, they don't need to create the content; they just need to boost it. Yeah. And it appears that where the state actors came into play was not in the creation of the surge of migrants, was in the reaction to it. So the surge of migrants happened. Now it's worth remembering that out of all the 80,000 or so migrants that went to Ceuta, none of them entered mainland Europe, right? So, but that didn't stop people like Tommy Robinson, Elon Musk, Farage referring to it as an invasion. Farage brought up again his breaking point poster of all the non-white people coming into the UK. So if you look at social media, this is an invasion, right? It's like a coordinated invasion, right? Those are the posts that the Russian-linked Pravda network began to boost. So once those posts were happening, once the racists started saying, look, there's an invasion of people, that's when state actors began to say, we can use this to divide the West. Yeah. And it fucking works so well on us. We're just like, we fall for it so easily.
Line and sinker, bro.
But then you also get the kind of scrutiny that's leveled against the Spanish Prime Minister, which then forces Europe to take very particular measures. So it has a very knock-on effect that is maybe counter to their instinctive social democratic persuasions. I don't know. I think that's where I find the challenge, is because obviously all of this stuff is perverse, but when a government, you potentially have a progressive government that wants to do progressive things, it's condemned to doing something at times that can be seen as quite hostile, because foreign actors have basically imposed.
It's like playing the incentives, right? Like Spain has an outlier immigration policy. They've naturalized a bunch of citizens who came recently, right? Like this.
But it was entirely to delegitimize that whole process,
right? But the point was also like, so what they're trying to say is that whole thing about like, it's the great replacement theory argument that was leveraged by Trump in the 24 election. Like, if you've got non-citizens becoming in and then becoming naturalized, they're replacing
taking over,
right-wing voters with now left-wing voters who owe something to the regime who's allowed them to come into the fold, right? And so Ceuta was seen as like a very exacerbated example of this very deep-rooted fear that the ethno-nationalist right are trying to leverage to get voters on side. And so there's an interesting thing happening, which is that presumably the incentives are just like, so how do you make money off of this, right? Like in the same way with the small boats crisis, human traffickers are doing it because there's money to be made. And Ceuta is exactly the same. But then all of these pre-existing networks which boost certain people who create division can just be basically turned on to make it 10, 100,000 million times worse. We don't really know.
Exactly. But this applies to things like the Southport riots, the Belfast riots, the Southampton riots, Epsom riots, all of these things which appeared...
Epping?
Epsom.
What's
and
happening?
Epping. There was some in Epsom as well.
In Epsom?
Epsom, Epping, every Ep. There's a riot in every Ep.
Free the Eps.
Because...
Not Eps.
Is that all of these flashpoints, in most of them, the majority of posts around these events come from outside the UK. The majority. And these are things that basically kind of look like pogroms, right? But like when we saw some of the Southport riots, you saw non-white people being dragged out of cars. Like let's not forget how terrifying of a state like we are in right now for non-white people in some communities, that like an issue can blow up on social media and it can lead to people who aren't white being dragged out of cars by an angry mob. Like that is the world we live in today. And I do think that is because of social media. And I do think that those events are caused by a relatively small number of accounts with deep pockets. And you know, if you go deep enough, that theory you're talking about, this idea that left-wing leaders, political leaders, want to import non-white people into Europe, same discussion in America, in order to maintain power. There are like well-funded groups trying to promote that narrative in the UK and across Europe. The same groups that were trying to promote the narrative around Jason Arde, right? Like these are the same people.
They're incredibly well coordinated, and they know what the wedge issues are, and they know how to exacerbate them. And so, what I find interesting is that, like, one response to all of this on the left is to say, like, this is top down, right? Like, this is like a cabal of very smart, intelligent people who are just like pressing these buttons, and then suddenly these scandals and crises are happening almost consequentially. And I don't think that that's quite right. I think that's a very...
Because there are racists here anyway.
Right.
And they don't need to be like prodded by social media.
But I think if you look at Clavicular as a good example here, right? Like, Clavicular got invited to Israel, right? Why does Clavicular get invited to Israel? I think that there's a social media team working with the IDF, well, we know this to be the case, right? Because one of them invited him, who sees the fact that he gets attention online. So it's already acknowledging that there is this machine of how attention works in the digital space, and that what you want to do is push your message within that machine, right? So you try and get upstream onto the lever, which is clavicular, and put your message in there. But it backfired, right? In that specific case, it backfired. In Israel, they're like, why? Even the Israelis were like, what the fuck is this? Like, what the fuck is this guy, bro?
Yeah.
This is not.
I think Israel often gets it wrong because, they've also, for example, do you remember Kevin Spacey? He was widely canceled for allegations of abuse and grooming. Allegations he denies and has not been found guilty of. He then went to Israel and did a kind of vaudeville performance. Bryan Singer, the disgraced Hollywood director, he directed a film in Israel. I think a lot of people in Israel seems to get it wrong in terms of the PR strategy quite often these days. Yeah, but it's that obsession with there's this cancellation to right-wing grift, right? Like Armie Hammer has now been involved in this film where they basically which is basically a racist film, right? Where they lionize the idea of murdering like a Muslim family because one of the guys is a rapist. Yes. Well, this is what's so interesting, right? Is on the right, you have a very set out strategy for maintaining influence and power once you are canceled for sexual assault or whatever it is, which is that you then paint everything as a matrix attack on you and an attempt to silence you because you're speaking the truth. That's what Tate does. Tommy Robinson does. That's what they all do. It works. We don't have that on the left. And I don't want to, without going too deep into Jason Arde, he doesn't have that. He's accused of things. He doesn't have an exit strategy where he can start criticizing, the system for being against him. It's just a well-worn strategy by now.
Mm. Do you want to talk about the Arde stuff?
I don't know. I personally find a lot of this stuff petrifying because I know I'm of a demographic by which a lot of this hatred is leveled against. And as you said, around the pogroms. And I guess the fact that the philosophy of all this is tied to the technology of the day, and how do you disaggregate the philosophy from the technology, which I don't think is possible given how sophisticated and how deep-rooted and well-moneyed the whole thing is. I think it just represents quite a challenging time when you're confronted with how real and visceral,
especially if you're going into public life, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, it is terrifying. And as you said, I mean, touching on the Jason Arde situation, there isn't that exit route or strategy or ecosystem that you can find yourself in, where for many on the right there is.
Yeah. I see. It's insane. I think also, just to go back to the foreign actors stuff, Andrew Tate has this whole relationship with Russia. And it's so Russia recently invited Tate to a conference. He went and partook in some propaganda, pretending to be with the Russian military near the Ukrainian front line. Obviously, it's well documented as well, right? That Tate, the allegations that Andrew Tate was basically not necessarily fully freed, but was able to leave Romania because members of the Trump administration put pressure on the Romanian authorities to allow him to leave the country, and then came to the US. Yes. Well, the thing that Tate's PR team now say is that they actually manipulated that situation. They just got Richard Grenell, Trump's special envoy, to mention that to a Ukrainian government minister, I believe it was, and then they spun it as the Trump administration pressuring them. We don't yet know to what degree the Trump administration... What's the Ukraine got to do with it, though? Ukrainian official. I mean, look, I cannot at this stage reveal any evidence to suggest that Tate is in some way funded by Russia, right? But if you want to know how much Russia thinks about this stuff, just to give you an example, a while back they did A/B testing of videos of men manspreading on the subway in Moscow on social media to see if it would successfully inflame some kind of gender war. That just shows you that is what the Kremlin is thinking about. They're thinking can we use a gender war on social media to sow discord in the West? That's something they are thinking about. So
they like the gender war that is currently eating our society apart. When we talk about stuff around the gender war, like they're like, one can imagine sitting there being like, yep, this is all great. This is working. But the other reason that there's like a kind of synchronicity between the Tates and the Trump administration is that it benefits them both to paint the justice system in Romania, in the US and elsewhere, and the idea of justice itself as what they refer to, both the Tates and the Trump administration, as lawfare. The notion that the state will drum up charges against you if they don't like what you're saying politically to silence you. That is how Trump has characterized the criminal allegations against him. That is how Tate has characterized the criminal allegations against him. That is how administrations in the Trump, people in the Trump administration referred to the charges against Tate.
Yeah, but his PR said, right, Matea Petrescu, who's the cousin of Tate's lawyer in Romania as well. He's an incredibly funny looking figure.
Eugen Vidanayak. Yes,
yes. He's hilarious. Anyway.
Some crazy coats on that guy.
He's trying to he's watched too many American mob films and thinks he's the consigliere.
But the level of clown that Tate's lawyers and team have just gets more and more intense, and landing now in Joseph McBride, one of the most ridiculous human beings I've ever seen. Who
literally looks like a knockoff of Timu Tate, basically.
Dude, he's like made Tate's. There's people who don't know Joseph McBride. He's Andrew Tate's lawyer. He's like made himself look like Andrew Tate. He's drunk the Kool-Aid clearly because he's like posting videos of him like addressing Tate supporters with Tate's voice playing underneath, saying Tate's famous metaphor about the six-pack, which is like, you don't get a six-pack without suffering, and like all of life for a man should be suffering, right? Like,
hey Andrew, so how do I get like a six-pack quick? What's the fastest way to get a six-pack?
Why does it have to be quick? Why does it have to be easy? Why do you think life is all quick and easy? Why can't it be hard and difficult? Why can't you suffer?
So first of all, the thing you should know about Joseph McBride is he
used to be the lawyer for the NXIVM guy.
Raniere will not be able to victimize people anymore after today's sentence, and we're very grateful for that.
Tuesday, the founder of the self-help group NXIVM sentenced to 120 years behind bars for charges including racketeering, sex trafficking, and forced labor.
He used to be the lawyer for the NXIVM guy.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
I can't believe it. I've given a piece of information that Matt Shea wasn't already in possession of.
Wow. So he first became famous for defending Jan 6 rioters.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
He's had dinner at Mar-a-Lago. He's friends with Don Trump Jr. He basically like has been addressing Tate supporters outside Tate's jail cell in Miami who are doing push-ups in support of Andrew Tate, right? A bunch of men doing push-ups in support of Andrew Tate. So, okay, should we do a quick update on the Tate case right now?
Yeah, let's fucking do it.
The Tates are facing a number of legal accusations, criminal accusations in Romania. There's 2 indictments that relate to human trafficking, forming an organized crime group, rape, and physical abuse. And they deny all those charges. They haven't yet stood trial for them. It's taken a very long time for those to go to trial. There's also 2 criminal investigations in the UK. There's also like an investigation about taxes in the UK as well.
And a civil case as well.
And a civil case. And there's other investigations potentially. But one of the criminal cases in the UK recently updated the investigation. They are now facing a total of 59 charges, including rape and counts relating to sex trafficking and indecent images of a child.
Yep.
Okay. That is what has led to the UK asking for them to be extradited from the US. Now, Tate's lawyer, Joseph McBride, has gone on the offense and presented this as the UK drumming up charges in order to silence the Tates, and like appealed to the Trump administration, saying things like, if you let these men be extradited, then MAGA is over, kind of thing, right? Like, and it's just so, like, look, the Tates deny these charges and they haven't yet faced them in court, and they deserve to face them in court, as do all of their alleged victims deserve to face these to go through the trial process. But what I think we cannot accept, and what is to me egregious, is painting this investigation as though it is drummed up charges to silence them, right? There are real women making these allegations. I've met lots of them. For him to say that, for Joseph McBride to say that, I mean, it's just ridiculous. While he's out there like addressing these dudes doing push-ups for Andrew Tate. And this is a guy, by the way, and he said that his complaints, he says that that the Tates have not been sent any of the details about who these victims are. And the CPS, the Crown Prosecution Service, has argued that they are a flight risk, right? Because Joseph McBride is asking for them to get bail before extradition, which is highly unusual. And the Crown Prosecution Service has said, no, they are a flight risk and they're a risk to the victims, right? The alleged victims, because they could harass them, their supporters could harass them, they have huge power on social media and so forth. Now, that is true, right? That is obviously true. Joseph McBride himself went on the Fresh and Fit podcast.
Myron Gaines's podcast, this like right-wing, like stupidly obnoxious Manosphere podcast, during the Romanian case, to badmouth one of the alleged victims in the Romanian case. He doxed her. He like brought up her past sexual history. And he even said that she was pure evil and that I will rip her to shreds, body bag for sure. This is the Tate's lawyer.
The idea of me having her on the stand.
Oh, you're going to kill her, bro.
Forget it. I will rip her to shreds.
Yeah.
Body bag.
She has body bag for sure. She has no chance of survival.
The same guy, by the way, arranged for Tucker Carlson to come and interview the Tates. This is a guy who's dined at Mar-a-Lago. And the truth is, like, he and the Tates do have an army of trolls that they can deploy against the victims. And they do this. They are incredibly dangerous. So that's why the CPS argues that they should not be given bail, right? But it's just like, you know, it's ridiculous. The level of like clownery around the Tates. I mean, I think that they've now passed the point where people don't take them seriously anymore, right? Because you look at this guy, you look at the guys doing push-ups outside, it's cringe, it's such a joke. At a time it maybe looked like they could appeal to the Trump administration for help. Maybe the kind of the top clown in the circus would actually support them. Now it's increasingly looking like
even Trump won't defend them.
Even Trump won't defend them.
I mean, which is hysterical, right? Because, as you say, he's King Clown. But the farce has become so all-encompassing, and also to the detriment of the victims, right, who often get lost in, you know, the alleged victims who often get lost in this case. Like, they're just not spoken about with anywhere near enough airtime to all of the effects that I have on young men, or to the farce of the men doing push-ups and all the rest. Like, we've got to a point with this where justice, the law needs to happen, right? Because the longer and longer that the appeals are lodged, which you could also argue is a type of lawfare, you know, just in preventing the system to actually to execute itself properly.
They're saying we still haven't stood trial. We haven't been found guilty. Yes, because you keep appealing it. Yeah.
every single time, right? And in Romania in particular, you can basically appeal ad infinitum, as we've seen over the last like 3-4 years. Exactly. So, like, you know, if you were innocent, surely you would want to have your name cleared by going to trial and seeing it all happen. I would argue, but that's my opinion. So, like, I just think that for the Tates right now, they're terrified. When you watch the video of him getting arrested, as Matea, who we've spoken about earlier, who was their PR agent in Romania, said, she was like, you can tell that they didn't expect this to happen, right? Like you can see the shock and the surprise face. There's also stuff about like Andrew Tate trying to hand over stuff to his accomplices in that. Did you see that in the video whilst he's getting arrested? Yeah. And one I think is a security guard dropping his phone or something like that. I mean, so there's a sense in which that like perhaps chickens are coming home to roost, and that finally the case will go to trial. I mean, are you confident that extradition is going to happen?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Trump administration, Trump could press like the big red, like fuck it button and do a crazy thing, but this would be so unprecedented. They've already said that they won't get in the way of extradition. And I think there's an awareness that like they don't want to be associated with someone who's accused of sex trafficking and indecent images of a child, the charges which they deny. Now, I think that the reason they're doing all of this is because they are turning the kind of legal accusations against them into another like circus for attention, right? It's all a performance. And it kind of works, right? But the thing is, like, yes, justice looks like it may at some point happen soon, whichever way that justice goes, but it has taken a very long time. And like the UK justice system should know that they have successfully made a mockery of it. Successfully. They have basically made it out to be a kind of scam, a conspiracy against them, a matrix attack, something that's been repeated by people like genuine politicians on the right in the UK and the US. Lots of young men believe that the justice system is a joke now. They're laughing at the justice system and people are laughing along with them.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? Because one of the cases, I think it was Hertfordshire Police, closed the case in 2015, was it?
So the case that was closed, that was the case around the women that we interviewed in our first film.
Yeah.
And they were accused, Andrew Tate was accused of sexual assault and physical assault by these women. One of the women had text messages on her phone from Andrew Tate in which he appeared to say, "I loved raping you." He had voice notes appearing to admit to the rape. But the CPS did not deem that this case met the evidential threshold to move to a prosecution, which raises huge questions for the CPS, questions that have been, just left behind in all of this. The Tates deny those charges and they were not found guilty of them. Now, those women then pursued a civil case after our film came out, and the police have now reopened the original criminal investigation after an investigation was launched into what happened with the first.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's what's interesting as well is like, so when I was doing docs on this, obviously I was watching, we were like both in this like Twitter sphere of like online sleuths as well, who were getting information from the Romanian authorities was being leaked online, access to massive chat logs of Andrew Tate's war room, which I'm sure you got hold of many months before we did, but like there was all this information that's coming out online. Tate's now taken out legal action against a lot of the online sleuths.
He says he has.
Yeah, well, I've been told that from some of the
some of them
people
that
he has. Yeah,
but I mean, he also said he was going to sue. Like, I think sometimes the legal action from the Tates is a bit more bluster than like real legal action. I mean, he said he's going to sue me. Like, I'm still waiting for that to happen. Like, I think they just say that. They've sued some of the alleged victims. They've even sued some of the parents of one of the alleged victims. I just think like when you look at the crimes that they're being accused of, trafficking, rape, indecent childs of a minor, indecent images of a minor, what's unique about this isn't that someone's accused of those things, it's that someone's accused of those things and then has a huge like cult of people supporting them regardless.
Yeah.
That's what's hard to get your head around.
Yeah. It's unfalsifiable to them though, right? Like Tate, it's like, I mean, it's funny, right? Joseph McBride represented the biggest cult leader in America in a legal case
it's interesting
recently.
You say that because when you look at the image of like dozens of men doing push-ups outside Andrew Tate's jail cell while he's in there awaiting extradition on charges, the worst charges you can imagine. It's mind-blowing, right? Like, why are they there, right?
Yeah.
And I think
it's a ritual of submission.
Yes, exactly. We tend to think,
horrifying.
right? Like,
it's absolutely horrifying.
It's horrifying, right? But we tend to think like, oh, they must be right-wing manosphere people who believe in what the Tates are saying and so forth. No, this is a cult.
Yes, a cult.
This is
bro.
a cult.
And these guys think women are programmable. It's so funny.
This
out there doing push-ups outside my man's jail cell.
Yeah, these are vulnerable men. They are vulnerable men who have been very effectively manipulated through social media and through the kind of dark charisma of the Tates. What's unique about the Tates is they have this effect on people that I think lots of cult leaders have had, like the NXIVM guy, where it's like this kind of dark charisma and people just follow them. And if your life is a bit messed up and you don't know where you're going and this person gives you direction, and crucially, they connect your life experience to the extent to which you are willing to endure suffering, right?
Yeah.
Tate's message is all about you should be enduring suffering. Oh, life's hard? Good, it should be harder,
and
right?
you're in pain as well. They
Yes.
acknowledge the fact you're already suffering. You're
yeah.
already suffering.
It's a potent message. There's
It's like
like
the Sisyphus
Yeah.
pushing the fucking stone
exactly.
up
Yeah, it is.
He
It
wants
is.
you to be
Yeah.
Sisyphus. He wants
Yeah.
you to be Sisyphus and get rich off of your subscriptions to his
He's at the
courses.
top of the hill.
Yeah, and like he's like you're paying him to be Sisyphus. That's what you're doing as a Tate supporter. You're paying him.
But this
to
is
be
why
Sisyphus.
they would refuse to say that they've ever been scammed as well, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're like, well, once I get the rock to the top, then all the chicks will like me.
Yeah.
It's like, no,
Wow.
you're going to fall at that point. So these men believe that. That's extraordinary, right? That's extraordinary. But what's different about Tate and other leaders who have that kind of dark, potent message, it's not a smart message. It falls apart under the basic rational analysis, but it's a potent message. It resonates with people on an emotional, psychological level, especially vulnerable men who have been told time and time again that there's other men getting laid more than them, that are stronger than them, who are more attractive than them, and that they're never going to amount to anything. You fill those men's brains with your dark charisma, and they will pay you a monthly fee. They become subservient to you. But what's different about a normal cults that we're used to is that they've effectively turned social media into a kind of mass proselytization tool of that cult. Imagine if like Keith Theroux or any of these people used social media and managed to like get into every young man's brain in the entire world with their message. That's what's happening right now.
Yeah. Actually, we're just in the wrong industry, bro. We're out here doffing our cap for people to get on fucking Substack, bro. Like, I mean, what the hell, bro? I need to get some dark riz. Just start saying the R word on the podcast. Anyway, I digress.
But like, do you see Joseph McBride, like this guy, like who's going after the alleged victims, who's like basically made himself look like Andrew Tate, who's got like Andrew Tate's inspirational speeches about getting a six-pack underneath. He posted an AI video of him and Andrew Tate dumping tea into Boston Harbor, like the Boston Tea Party, saying that like
he's a founding father,
somehow
bro.
painting like the extradition warrant for sex trafficking as like the UK making the US its bitch again to try and lure the Trump administration into taking action on that. That's like an AI like these people are crazy.
You could plausibly make the argument that if America does turn into a full-blown autocracy, Andrew Tate is a founding father of the philosophy. He can be on the Mount Rushmore of absolute fucking of autocratic freaks and weirdos agitating for it.
I mean, yeah, I do.
They have the same style, bro. I mean,
Tate and the founding fathers.
Tate and Trump have the same. You know, the alignment of people within MAGA who like Andrew Tate is this idea that like there is no. It's very nihilistic, right? There is no morality. It is entirely legitimate for you to pursue any means necessary to fleece people of what they have, to bully people.
Yes.
And never apologize, you know, like always encourage others to take more as well. Greed is good. Like there's something in the methodology that is fundamentally aligned. And also in the worldview as well, right? Which is dovish on Russia. And also like America is the world's bully and America can do whatever the fuck it wants.
Yes. Yeah. But then like all of these like hyper masculine delusions, you eventually realize you actually can't do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Because you can't just take over Iran. It doesn't work. You can't just manipulate hundreds of women into submission. They will then go to the police and say, you trafficked me. Like none of this shit actually works. Your whole alpha male thing is a delusion. That's why like one of the things these guys always say, and you hear this a lot in like the manosphere and like right-wing people and MMA supporters, is like, as a man, you have to know how to fight, because you got to be able to defend yourself because like someone could attack you. What if they have a gun? Like what then? Do you have to carry around an AK-47? Do you need a new? It just never ends. It's all delusional. You will never be the dominant person that you want to be.
I feel rather pleased that I've somehow missed out on this corner of the internet that I didn't know existed, at least in the depth that I do now. But how do people even arrive to this part of the internet? Because this is all just so quite peculiar to me, that I don't understand how you get that far into it in the first place.
Could I maybe posit that you haven't been as insecure as these men, because like you are a handsome guy with a like smart person with a girlfriend.
He's Looksmaxxed, bro.
I mean,
you're the most Looksmaxxed politician in the country right now.
All men have felt insecure at some point, right?
Well, have you ever felt insecure about your body?
I probably like any other person, but like I don't know. I exercise. I eat well.
Exactly right.
I don't
Alpha,
feel
bro.
particularly
Sigma male, bro. Sigma male. Like,
I don't feel particularly like aggrieved by anything that I do, and
you don't feel grievance about anything.
What do I have grievance for? I don't know. That's my starting point. Is I don't feel particularly hard done by the world. I've never really been made to feel such either. So
that's old school Caribbean philosophy.
Yeah,
innit?
Maybe that's what it is.
Get on with it.
You do just get on with it.
They're the real stoics, bro.
What,
Grandma, she's a real stoic, bro. Get on with it.
I brought that up to people when I was embedded in the War Room, which is Andrew Tate's like secret alpha male society for the documentary. I brought this up, like, and a lot of them said, they were like, look, dude, like, we're not trying to talk to men like you have an interesting job, you know, you go on adventures all the time. Your life is like
so
something.
They are predatory in the people that
it's
they're
like
hunting.
these guys, they're like
little verges.
These guys
It's true. They are going after scrawny virgins. That is who they're going after. It's true. I'm not saying that to disparage them. So, like, there's lots of people, Gen Z aren't having sex, allegedly.
I do feel bad for these guys, right? I feel really bad for them. We all know people in our life, there's lots of them who are lonely, like never succeed, and they see other men succeeding, and they become obsessed, and it becomes an obsession. Once a Tate fan said to me, a guy who he like broke off his engagement and quit his job to be a super Tate fan.
Wow.
And then he quit the Tate thing and he saw the light, and it was like he was coming out of a cult. It's always like they come out of a cult. And he was like, what the fuck was I doing for like years? But he said to me, I was seeing them post these images of these hot women that they're with constantly. And he said it was the same sensation as being a porn addict. You're seeing like, being a Tate fan is like being a porn addict. You're made to feel jealous. That jealousy is tied up with your sense of self-worth, your sexual self-worth. If you believe that these alpha males are out there getting laid while you're just like, you know, crying in your mom's basement, like lonely, then that message is gonna be very potent with you. And he addresses the men directly. He always says like, stop jacking off in your mom's basement or whatever. Stop smoking weed and playing video games. Everyone else like me.
Not bad advice, by the way. Not bad advice. Wanking loads
you can do
and
both.
watching
you can do both.
smoking loads of weed and doing nothing else. It's not the most fulfilling life.
Unless you're really hot. Like I think if you were really hot, you could get away with smoking weed, playing Warzone all day, and still have an active sex life, right?
Yeah, it's true. My friend is a model. I mean, like, that is basically his life. But you know, the insecurity thing is so real. Like, because I still get insecure. I'm still very insecure over my own body, bro. Like 100%. Like maybe there was a rumor that went around the school that I was 94 kilos as well. Maybe that's like a deep.
A rumor went around that you were 94 kilos.
I was like 70, but like people, I was actually average. But it was like a light banter. But I think deep in my psyche, actually it did make me feel anxious.
People like you, including women like your girlfriend, because you're a funny, like intelligent, clever, good-looking person.
Carry on.
Like some creepy dude who's like read like
SMV,
read about a sexual marketplace and has like a steroid six-pack. Being privileged and middle class is a shield against this stuff because like you are exposed to other value systems, other types of men. I do think that like there is, especially in working class communities, especially when you don't have, I don't know, the same access to like spaces to be a man, to like other men, then you, to look up to, then you kind of maybe are more vulnerable to these kinds of things. I think, I don't know. I also think like there's a very solitary type of man that is attracted to these kinds of messages. If you are like in a football team, for example, or any kind of team sport, you eventually learn like you can't just be like a raging misogynist prick, because if you're like just competing with other men, it's not going to work, right? Like you learn not to be too cocky, you keep that in check, but also to be more confident. Like you have to like actually, but they don't like team sports. They think team sports are gay. They're like, you should just do like boxing, not hate on boxing is an amazing sport, but like they just want you to do boxing and gym, right? And compete, see other men as competitors. They tell you to ditch your friends if they're not on the same competitive vibe as you. And this is not just the Tates. Like this is the whole hustle culture thing that we see on social media. It's the thing that drives men in this country to move to Dubai to try and like become rich. It's this idea that you are competing with other men.
But this is why it's incredibly neoliberal. Because it's like, it's the most hyper individualized shit. Like the only thing that is real is what's like going on in here and basically what you, like your dopamine. Like, as long as you're realizing that that's the only thing that matters, like anyone else can get fucked.
Exactly. And I think like the Tates will say that like they offer brotherhood to men, and they do offer a kind of brotherhood in that it's like a fraternity of the dispossessed being like manipulated
as
by
long as you pay,
a cult leader.
Pay the money.
Paying for it. But I do think that the aspect of masculinity that it is missing, which I have always liked about being a man, is the sense of brotherhood. And that is like not competing with other men. It's like lifting up other men, like, and just like that camaraderie that I think I feel sad that those men don't have, and they then have to look for it on the internet.
Do you know, I send bare of them just to a UK festival. Just go do a UK Fezzy, do like at least 6 other nerds. Just go get fucked. Maybe you'll have a bit of camaraderie. You'll have a few little, some things will go wrong. Someone might, someone might take a whole instead of a half. And, you just gotta let them be, bro. Let them be. Go be frivolous for a little bit and stop deeping everything so much.
Do you think that's where it comes from? Is that what it is to be a man, or at least the perception is that it's far too contained? Being frivolous is not allowed.
It's weakness. It's weakness. Frivolity is weakness.
It's just so interesting you say that, because like I've had the Tates tell me that like happiness is a feminine thing, right? You shouldn't be happy.
And they hate festy hoes. They aren't, bro. For a reason. Because it's an antidote. If you go and be in the communal, you go do some collective effervescence and dance together under the fire, around the fire pit. You kind of realize that you're a human being. You have stuff in common with other people.
That's fascinating.
Sorry.
No, it's true. I mean, we all are insecure about frivolity, right? Like we don't want to seem too frivolous as men. That affects us for sure.
Anti-optimization.
Well, to me, it seems more anti-human than anything. It's like you just can't be what our species is.
Yeah.
Free.
Exactly. And this is what, so all of the discussion that came after the Tates from the left, especially about how do we deal with this issue, we've left young men behind, etc. It began with this soul searching for like, what is positive masculinity? And there are all these like questions, right? Well, men need to be in a group. They need a sense of competition. They need the pub. They need blah, blah, blah. But like, really, those are all things women need too. Yeah. And I'm just not sure how helpful it ever is really
to make it just
to look
men.
at things through the lens of gender. Like when you think about people are like, but I don't want to raise my son. I want my son to be raised as a man. It's like, what does that mean? Like what, you're teaching him how to be a man? Like what about like an architect or whatever? I don't know. Like just like the amount of his identity that is the man part, I think shouldn't be that big. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've had a lot of my perspectives on this have changed, because obviously a lot of my career has been being brought into places being like, here's the positive masculine person who's investigated Andrew Tate and knows why he's a bad dude or whatever.
Yeah. And
I'm just like, there's not a substantive list that has to be specifically gendered, which if you tick them all off, you're suddenly a good man. It's the exact same virtues that apply to women as well and make them good people, which is essentially a sense of compassion, like a willingness to hear and to listen to people, trying to find purpose-driven work and ensuring that you have like quite meaningful relationships. Like if you tick all of those things off, you live a pretty good life. Like, and that's cross-cultural, that's pretty universal, but somehow it's been lost in the quagmire of like, how do you navigate this specific type of modernity where, sorry to get political folks, we are living through a very difficult economic crisis.
But when I look at like the discussion that came out of the reaction to the Manosphere a few years ago, and people trying to find out like, what are masculine traits, it often came back to these things where I was like, is that like, okay, men are protectors. It's like, is that just women, a male thing? Like, I don't know. Have you ever seen like a mother before?
Exactly.
Or men are, men require like brotherhood and camaraderie. It's like, do women not want that? I think like there's a sense in which men definitely do like the idea of conquest, right? Like we like to believe, whether it's like unblocking a drain or like conducting a war, that we're like these victorious
exploration.
Yeah. And that like
adventure.
The caveats around any of these discussions about what men are like are A, not all men are like that, some men aren't. B, lots of women are like that. C, it could be socially conditioned, not biological. And D, we should never like tell men they should be like that, right? You don't want to say, you're not being competitive and because that's stupid. But given that, lots of men do like conquest.
Exactly. I was like, don't pathologize that either.
Yes,
because I feel like that's where the left went a lot wrong on a lot of this stuff. Was it was basically saying that there's like no discernible differences between men and women that like play out at the cultural social level.
Yes.
And like that's obviously not the case. And also saying to these young boys and men that they like whatever their relation is to masculine, to manhood, that was wrong, or that they were like criminals in waiting, or that there was something ultimately that needed to be suppressed or changed about that, which was where if you listen to these young boys, was the resonance that they were getting was that this was like a finger wagging lecture about the person they're trying to be through the cosmic soup of being a teenager, which is like you're constantly redefining yourselves, bro. Like if you were with teenage Matt Shea today and you're like, who are you? You would
Such a pussy.
You would just find it hysterical. Whatever answer that he gave would be hysterical, right? Like, and I know that the same about me as a teenager as well. But I also know in the inverse, if the teenage me was looking at me now, they would be gassed. They'd be like, this is the type of person that I would want, like I'd look up to, you know? And like all of us are having this conversation with our inner child, which I think is becoming now part of the discourse in a way that wasn't previously, where we're recognizing that there is inherent to all of us a vulnerability that we lose through childhood into adulthood, where we now have to have the answers about everything. When deep down we just want to like know that we're loved, be free, and like have a good time as well, and have people who understand us.
But I guess with that evolutionary nature of yourself and how you perceive your manhood to be, which is changed throughout generations, throughout centuries and whatnot, how do you make a convincing argument that this isn't just a particular representation of a discourse of manhood that is within some form of, I guess, like a teleological path? Because history has shown that masculinity and manhood changes respective of kind of contexts, economies, society, whatever it is. This is just another iteration, as you said, of a neoliberal society where a hyper-individualized male becomes this
God.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the God for themselves.
So like, the like they would say that it isn't some like teleology that leads towards this competitive version of man. They would say that it's innate.
It's
like,
the way things are.
That men,
it's inherent.
Yeah, you are a man, therefore you are born to do the hard things, to suffer and to dominate.
Okay, interesting.
But it absolutely is connected to like history and place, and the extent to which you feel comfortable in your economic standing, your social standing, is the extent to which you will feel the kind of insecurity that makes you double down on that hyper masculine stuff, which leads, I think, to the oppression of women, and that like. The men who oppress women are the most insecure. Like instead of toxic masculinity, what we should really be talking about is fragile masculinity that is broken and then lashes out in order to defend itself.
Is that okay, Ellen? Does that count? No. We're getting a no on that one. I mean, look, these guys are fundamentally scared. Right, like Tate is terrified of actually having to face the consequences of his actions, which he obviously denies when it comes to the criminal allegations, right? But like I think that, see, if I wanted to I think culture does influence this stuff, right? So like as you were saying earlier, these things change over time. Once upon a time, it was manly to wear pink. We don't live in that world anymore.
Oh yeah, true.
So like, the culture can influence this stuff, you know. Which means that we play a part in shaping the world of gender, its stereotypes, and therefore its expressions. And if I wanted to change something about the culture, it would be to say to men, like, being a caring guy is the coolest, most masculine thing that you could do. Like the protector and provider shit, it's about care. It's like, I care to look after and check in on. I express care to myself you know, when I'm finding those things difficult and when I'm struggling as well. And like carrying masculinity for me has always been a part of what it means to be a man. You can trace it always through history. Any of the stories of the heroism of World War II, it's men risking their own lives in care of somebody more vulnerable than themselves, right? Like Hacksaw Ridge being like the most kind of like...
Well, it's super interesting you bring that up, because the Tates will often say, and people in the Manosphere will say, like, those men were essentially the bitches of the ruling class, and they were made to sacrifice their lives like for them. But like, you can see how that argument resonates, right? Like, you are forced to fight.
Well, again, it's rooted in a kind of hyper individualism that I should be able to reject anything that somebody tells me to do.
They don't believe in society.
And I will just subscribe to the cult that whoever leader. But I mean, again, it's an oxymoron, because you can wage that argument, but also whilst paying your money each month and subscribing to whatever some cultish leader is telling you, is it not the same thing?
I just can't stress enough that the archetype of masculinity that they are like pushing, the caricatured version of masculinity that they're pushing, if your goal in following that, and it is, let's be real for all these men, is to get laid, it's not going to get you laid. It's going to do the opposite. Like, look at the kinds of men that women find attractive. Like, look at the like actors. Do they look like Andrew Tate? No. Do like the musicians look like Andrew Tate? No. The people who do look like Andrew Tate and act like him are often politicians like Trump or Pete Hegseth. JD Vance tries to be like this and I think fails. They are looking to those people and seeing them as these like paragons of masculinity and whatever. But like, are those men, is that archetype of man going to last? Are they happy? Do women like them? I mean, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. I think, you know, broken people can attract other broken people. And, you know, when you see Clavicular in a club getting with like attractive young women or whatever, I think they're as much there for the lights, the cameras, the clout, the
and
noise.
They're very young. Like everyone does like,
stupid
stuff when they're young and drunk, right?
Exactly.
Like,
and he's young as well. He's young. So there is an immaturity, let's say, that has become writ large on society, are almost definitely being compounded by the way social media and the attention economy works. And to be truly free and to escape the matrix, I think, is to acknowledge that we're living in this system where you are constantly being mined for your own attention. Why? Because somebody else is profiting it. They might be selling a course. They might own the advertising agency that then sells gambling. They might own the platform themselves. But
you are the product as well.
You are the product. And
don't be the product.
This message is the real matrix. You know, want to know why this is the message is the real matrix? Is because it doesn't get views, bro. We're not getting views in the same way because it's true. And people don't want... The truth will piss you off, but it will set you free. Matt Shea, thank you so much for coming on. I think you might be back for the third time as well, if you play your cards right.
This has been, at least to me, one of the most dumbfounding, revealing, exposing... Thank you both.
Thank you, Jovan, for constantly being born in the wrong generation. The Benjamin Button of British politics, everybody.